Give it up for your first comic, Sean Riccio, everybody.
Hey folks, doing tonight? Yes, we have new jokes. I'm beginning to reach that point in a young man's life where you're sort of tossed out into the world and you have to kind of learn the things that your parents and your teachers never taught you, the limitations of what you can do as a young man, as an adult in the world. For instance, I learned that you cannot throw the contents of a studio apartment into a beat-up Corolla and then try to drive across the Canadian border in the dead of night. Apparently, Border Patrol does not smile happily upon penniless, jobless Americans trying to bring all of their shit in a sedan for a summer vacation after they move out of an apartment. And I was pissed because, fuck, there goes my vacation. But on retrospect, I can kind of understand, talking to the officer with all of with boxes of shit, pans, and everything in the back seat. Oh yeah, officer, I have no job and no money and no means to support myself, and I would like to come into your country to visit my totally real, not fake Canadian girlfriend and spend some time there over the summer, where healthcare is free and you don't have a shitty unemployment rate and weed is as cheap as bread. No, of course I'm not going to stay. Why would I ever want to leave your glorious country where I'm not in debt to the government? Thank you, everybody. So good to be back in Knoxville. Everyone gets your name wrong. Alright, like Sean, I'm going to fall back on some old material. So I realized recently, folks, that we live in the future. Do you know that? We are now living in the future, and it has nothing to do with the fact that we have iPods or electric cars or men in space. It is because now there are people who are worried about other people having sex with robots. This is not a fake thing. There is a guy in San Francisco who was protesting gay marriage, not because he had anything against gay people, but because he thought that if we allow gay marriage, that will clearly lead to people marrying robots. And he specifically said, though, androids, which are, for those of you who don't know, robots that look like people, which raises some interesting questions. What about robot bestiality? Can I still fuck my Roomba? These are the questions that we need to ask before legislation is put in place. Ooh. What else do we have on the docket tonight? I've got like 20 or 30 minutes. We could make this keep going. No, I was recently in a comic book shop because I have the money. And a friend of mine said to me while we were looking through the book racks of comics, "Hey Sean, did you see what Clark and Bruce were up to this month?" We don't know anybody named Clark and Bruce, so I was puzzled. And he then said, "Well, Clark and Bruce in the comic book." For those of you who don't know, Clark and Bruce are the real names, like the alter egos, of Superman and Batman, respectively. Now, I don't like when people talk about fictional characters as if they were real to begin with. But even if they were real, you would not be on a first-name basis with Superman and Batman. Being Superman is like being the Pope or the President. You should show him some goddamn respect. He fought Brainiac for your freedoms. And he deserves better than that. And even Aquaman doesn't get to call him Clark. And he's on the fucking Justice League. What are Aquaman's superpowers anyway? He can swim really well, I guess. He can talk to fish. Ooh, that's useful. If there's ever a robbery at the diamond store / aquarium. You can get Aquaman in there to cross-examine the cuttlefish. He probably has to do all the bitch work at the Justice League too. Like, you know, Superman's cape dry cleaning and filling out superhero police reports. Because I imagine they would have to fill out police reports. We have laws about that kind of thing. You can't just like wrap a dude in a piece of rebar and then dump him in front of a police station. That's not how due process works. Like, so the cop would come out and see the guy and be like, well, you might have done something wrong, but we have no witnesses and no evidence. So we're just gonna pry you out of there with the jaws of life and then send you back on your crack dealing way. Do you guys know that have you heard like of the phenomenon of real life superheroes? Like these fuckers who dress up in costumes and walk around handing out like police citations or, telling people to be safe outside where things are. Like, they're just dudes who wear costumes. And it's a thing that's mostly in big cities, but even in Tennessee, we have real life superheroes. Out in Columbia, Tennessee, out in Columbia, near Nashville, there is a guy who's a real life superhero. Now, Columbia is famous for being the mule capital of the world, which is exactly as exciting as you would think it would be. Now, what do you think a guy like that would call himself? Maybe the Mule, or Donkey Punch, something. No, he calls himself the Viper. Like, that makes absolutely no fucking, call yourself, I messed up the setup to that joke. Oh man, we're having fun. We're getting to know each other, forming a real connection. Me and that guy who's in a Kyle Kinane lookalike contest at the bar. Even the other comedians didn't get that one. All right, folks, this has been a thing that I've done. I'm going to give it back to Sean Chittister. Thanks, everybody.
Sean Riccio.